Greetings in the name of the Lord, and the video for this week are pretty much my thoughts on the relationship between the church and the state. As we already know, Christianity was a religion that started to be persecuted since the beginning. So Christianity started as a persecuted religion without any support from government or empire. And that was the story of Christianity for pretty much for the first 3 centuries. After 3 centuries of being persecuted and rejected by most countries in the Middle East, North Africa, and Asia, something began to happen that changed the direction of Christianity as a religion. The Christian tradition says that Bartholomew and Thaddeus went to Armenia, bringing the gospel to this nation, and then by the year 301, Armenia became the first Christian state when Theridates III, the king of Armenia, became a Christian. And with him, the whole country became a Christian state. And we're talking about several years before Constantine the Great became also the person that take Christianity from a persecuted state into a privileged state in the Roman Empire. At this particular moment, Armenia was a powerful state east of Rome. They were not as powerful as Rome, but they have certain independence, and with that political power that Armenia had at the moment, that allowed them to make such decision without any major consequences from the Roman Empire. But then, on the year 313, at the city of Milan, Emperor Constantine the Great declared Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. And it was also Constantine who declared Sunday as a worship day for the Christian church on the year 321. He made this decision not because Sunday was the day that we as Christians celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, but because it was the day the Roman sun god Sol was worshipped by most of the people throughout the Roman Empire. So the decision was made in order to pretty much help the pagans to make a transition into Christianity. So for 2.5 centuries, Christian worship on the Sabbath and also on the Sunday. On Sabbath, they will have the time to study the scriptures, and on Sunday, they will gather together to celebrate Jesus' resurrection. But that pretty much changed with the decision made by Constantine. Pretty much from this point on, Christianity became a religion which worshiped mostly or mainly on the day Sunday. So, the same fashion, it was Constantine, not the church, who made the call for a council at the city of Nicaea in the year 325 with the purpose to define the nature of Christ. So we see, since the beginning, a very strong intrusion from the government in the life and development of the church. Furthermore, in the year 380, the emperor at the time was Theodosius, and Theodosius made it mandatory that Christian religion was the only religion to be across the Roman Empire. Christianity became, from this point on, the only religion in the state, and Christian became the persecutors of the non-Christians. So that was part also of that marriage between the church and the state. Then we have the Greek Orthodox Church, who according to tradition was founded by Andrew, And to me, that's interesting because we know that Apostle Paul was the major player in the development of Christianity in Greece and Turkey, the area known before as Asia Minor. But this Greek church gained a prominent place when Constantine created the city of Constantinople in the year 330 and became the capital of the eastern part of the Roman Empire. And from this moment on, the church got married in this part of the world with the state as well. So today we have a Greek Orthodox church married with the state in Greece in many ways. And even that Turkey today is a Muslim country, the Orthodox Church is still alive in the most part because of these roots, these very historic roots of being born right there in what it is today known as Istanbul. The Greek Orthodox Church became eventually an alliance of churches from other countries who seek the advice and leadership from the Orthodox Patriarch. And in some countries, this church operates and is still in a strong marriage with the government. Well, one of those big examples is the church in Greece. I have been in Greece several times, and it is amazing to me to see the strong marriage and relationship that the state and the Greek Orthodox Church have until this very day. For instance, in their view, all the Greeks are Christians. There is no such thing as a non-Christian Greek. And the reason is because every single Greek person in the country pretty much has been baptized at the Greek Orthodox Church. The other thing is that most Protestant churches in the country are operating illegally, or they have created NGOs in order to operate in the country, but they are not officially recognized as churches. And it's because the Greek Orthodox Church have a very strong hand in the government in order to avoid other churches to be recognized by the government. For instance, there is an issue right now in the Republic of Macedonia, and for years, the people of the northern part of Greece, which is known for centuries as Macedonia, they are quite offended of the fact that there is a country using their name. So there have been protests all over the country, and that protest has been sponsored and supported by the Greek Orthodox Church. So, for instance, on Sunday morning, I went to a particular church, we have service, and after the service, my wife and I decided to have a walk around the city of Thessaloniki, not knowing that at the same time they will be having a march, a protest march against this situation in which the neighbor country in the north is using the name of Republic of Macedonia. And all of a sudden, my wife and I were in the middle of this huge march with thousands of people, so we were walking with them because we were pretty much trapped there. But then we begin to notice all of these Greek Orthodox priests there, and how they pretty much, they have mass, and after that they went into their buses and they drove hundreds of miles to get into the city of Thessaloniki. And pretty much it was the priests and their parishioners all over the place, and you will see every single priest with a group of people, thousands of people marching in protest. So that's the influence that until this day the Greek Orthodox Church have on its government. The same thing we have that from the Greek Church, the Russian Orthodox Church was born in the year 988 with the conversion of Prince Vladimir. And this church gained access to the state during the Russian Tsar's era. And although the Orthodox Church, the Russian Orthodox Church, lost its place of privilege during the communist era, we must understand that by the time that the Soviet Union disappeared, the Russian Orthodox Church has regained some of that influence and power. For instance, uh, Vladimir Putin, the current president of Russian Federation, uh, he became a member of the Russian Orthodox Church. How someone who was an atheist and a member of the KGB became a Christian believer, a member of the Russian Orthodox Church? Well, there's very strong political reasons. He need the Russian Orthodox Church in order to remain in power, in order to have that political support on election time, to have votes. So we see that marriage between the Russian Orthodox Church and the Russian government in this day. Now, going back into the Roman Catholic Church, into the Western Church, we can see that as the papacy became more and more stronger, noble families from all over Europe began to render support and need the blessing of the Holy Father in order to maintain their roles as kings in the different countries in Europe. And the strength of the chair of St. Peter became so obvious that, for instance, in the year 1095, Pope Urban II called for the First Crusade. And the power of the papacy at that moment was so strong that he was able to muster an army from European countries in order to fight the Muslims and conquer the city of Jerusalem. So, yes, the papacy at one point in history was even stronger than the power of the kings in Europe. Now, with the Reformation in Northern Europe, the Roman Catholic Church lost its place of influence in many governments, and pretty much Protestants took that place. So, Protestant became, in many of these European nations, the privilege or the institutions that got married with the state. So, you will see in Germany, Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands, parts of Switzerland, and many other parts of that region in Europe, that marriage between Protestants, mostly the Lutheran Church, and the different governments. Meanwhile, in Spain, France, Portugal, Italy, well, the Roman Church exercised a powerful influence. And it was so powerful that, in order to give you a perfect example, in 1482, the Roman Catholic Church want the King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella to expel the Jewish people, the Sephardi Jewish people, from Spain. And that's exactly what happens. And it was horrible to see in history how that happened, because they were not just expelled, but they was stripped of their money, their properties. Many people were killed during that process. And the Jewish people had to run for their lives. Some of them, they went to Portugal, but then a year and a half later, the government of Portugal expelled them as well. So they had to go to North Africa. They went to Morocco, Tunisia. Some of them went as far as Turkey in order to survive, because of decisions made by governments with the influence and the support of the church. When we take also our view from the Protestant perspective, we cannot forget the reality that happened in 1534 when King Henry VIII wanted to divorce from Catherine of Aragon. And because the Roman Catholic Church denied him a divorce or an annulation of their marriage, then Henry VIII decided to split the Church of England. So pretty much he created his own denomination, the Church of England, and he became the head of that church. And until this day, every British monarch still the head of the Church of England. So we have seen all of that throughout history. And if we take a look forward to 21st century, to the life in the United States of America, we have seen that influence, that strong political influence from the church. And perhaps we cannot say that the church is married to the state in the United States because we have a constitutional law that creates separation between the church and the state. But we cannot deny the fact that Christianity, particularly Protestant Christianity, in the United States has been exercising a very strong influence in its government since its inception. Today, we can talk all day long about the powerful influence that denomination as the Southern Baptist Convention and perhaps other Pentecostal denominations have in the current president of the United States, President Donald Trump. At the same time, when President Barack Obama was in office, he had also strong support from African American churches and denominations as the Presbyterian Church USA, the Disciples of Christ Church, and many others. So today we have in the United States a marked divide between Christians over political issues and at the same time how we can gain access to power and in many ways be married with the state, even that the Constitution said that is a separation between the church and the state. So, my question is for you is how you see all of this. Personally, I believe that yes, we need good people in government, people of faith in government. That's fine. That sounds wonderful. But the problem that we are confronting today it is that we're going beyond of that, and we have converting the government into a place in which we can legislate our faith. And that is, in my opinion, a dangerous position. It is, in my opinion, a double sword position. Sadly, we have a situation in which we rather depend on the government than depend on the Lord. And perhaps because we, I include myself, Christians with conservative values and views, are afraid perhaps of seeing things going in the direction that we don't want to see. We're making pressure to our government to make decisions that are not necessarily in alliance with the scripture. So, I pray that the church in the United States wake up to the reality that we must depend on the Lord rather than governments or human beings. And once we got to that realization, then we can speak prophetically to the government. Today, the United States has lost its prophetic voice. It lost its prophetic voice because Christians on the left, when the President Obama was in power, they kept their mouth shut to all the wrong things that his government did. And today we have a conservative church, a right-wing church, that is doing the same with President Donald Trump. They are staying quiet, their mouths are shut, and they're not speaking prophetically. And when a nation does something like that, pretty much what they're doing is losing its prophetic voice. Sadly, the United States of America at this point do not have a prophetic voice. And I pray that the Holy Spirit touch this nation in such way and touch His church in such way that we can wake up to that reality. And we can speak to governments from the left and to the right and to signal the wrongdoings, because we have been called to be the church regardless of the government who is in power. And that is to be really a true church separate from the political power and becoming servants of Christ, spreading the gospel and fulfilling the Great Commission. Thank you very much, and God bless you.